DC area. One of the questions we have to think about, like say if you're married and you're dealing with your house and you own it together, the question is, well, we have an asset that we need to deal with. Sunset, they just abandoned me and come back. They've been gone. They've been gone. They've been gone. They ain't seen nobody, so I guess it's over. Like this, man, you just can't leave. Not true. Okay, that's what they call me. Are there people throughout history that despite whatever circumstances, they did what they wanted to do? Hello! Welcome. It is 11 o'clock on Wednesday, and you are in the studio with Carmiece T. Graves. I'm getting settling in, y'all. I'm not even on. I'm settling in. And I call it Coffee with Carmiece, but I had my coffee before I got here. But I figured when I used to have like a job, this was a good time. Coffee break every time was a good time for coffee. But this, you want to go get coffee? I mean, you want to stop what we're doing right now? And just, I can't. I just got here, but I need a break already because it takes so much. Get yourself up, get your family together. You know, it takes a lot to get yourself to work. So by the time you get there, you're exhausted. So sometimes you may tune in, but usually y'all holler at me later on. I ain't mad at you. Handle that business, handle that dollar, stay on top of your life. You just holler at me later. And if y'all like it, y'all supposed to, you do what y'all do. How we like and share. That's what they tell everybody to do, right? I don't know. I just want to add some value where I can. And guess what? So this week, guys, I was just going to put out some videos, take a chillax a little bit. But then it's Juneteenth week and it is an exciting time for everybody because everyone is more connected. Information is sharing. Is more awareness. This is a time for reconciling the truth. Oh, it's going down. I mean, because people like this, wait, how come this is just becoming a thing? Juneteenth, the celebration, of the actual, liberation, sets of liberated African Americans in this country being acknowledged, Galveston, Texas. Why is this just becoming a thing? How come this wasn't in, why people like my age like this, how come this wasn't in the school books? How come, why is this like sidebar information? How come this is not a part of the core curriculum? It's a big debate. Well, the truth will set everything straight. You know what I mean? It just has to happen. And I understand. I get it. But this Juneteenth to me, Juneteenth represents for me the declaration and pursuit of ultimate and absolute freedom for all human beings, particularly me, African Americans, is focused on because a lot's been done to have that not be the case. So that's why there's extra focus when someone has done something to really interrupt the process. And it's not just, if you've intentionally tried to interrupt the freedom of an inalienable right of a certain group of people, then, maybe there's some extra attention there. Try and balance that back out. Now, I talk about this and I have so many different viewpoints that I want to share today about it. And I'm going to get on down to about freedom. You know what I mean? We're going to get into a little family law because family law is about us as individuals. And it is so personal. It is so raw. It is so, core to what we are as human beings, the coming together. I mean, this is what this is all about. How in America can we come together and reconcile the history and the past? Because it is the path for moving forward. And it's interesting to look at both, sides of this in terms of like the how difficult it is, like looking at the past is always a tricky process because you have to look at it with care and you need to look at it in a way that provides a lens that has it be to your benefit. If looking at the past isn't to your benefit and it's not done in a safe way, it can be more traumatic. You can vicariously traumatize yourself further. So that can be an issue. So a couple things. So there was a post. So what does Juneteenth mean for me? Carmiece T. Graves, attorney, CPA practicing family law in Maryland, Washington, D.C. area, my diverse background. I've lived, in the South, up north, born in New York, military brat, traveled, lived different places, rural South, Midwest, okay, Hawaii, lived places, experienced being Black in a couple different, environments, Caribbean, of course, New York up north, Connecticut, did the New England thing, So, and then here, 17 years here in the Washington, D.C. area. Yeah, love it. So it's been an interesting journey, but I will tell you, one of the things, what I've treated myself to is always the quest for understanding how I operate as a human being. I always felt that there was a process to it. I was introduced to religion really early on. So I was really pensive. I've been me since I was little. I was like, what is going on? What is going to happen? So I've always been pensive about our existence as human beings and higher callings and what is our spiritual nature all about. It's just been something that has been interwoven into my life. And then experiencing real direct racism, you know what I mean? For the people that don't like you, just dead on in your face style, you know what I mean? As a little adolescent, and then going to these schools where there was really no positive imagery of me illustrated in any glory. I mean, we got the few, you get the MLK, I think that's about it, you know what I mean? And you didn't really get all these powerful images. You didn't get the full picture. You didn't get the truth. You didn't get beyond one-sided lens. And I could feel that was, I was aware. I didn't like how it felt. I was embarrassed. I just felt like I didn't like the picture that was being portrayed of my ancestry. And I knew it was incomplete. So I would just check out. You know what I mean? I checked out. I was like, I don't feel like this is a good start. I keep hearing the same. How come I keep hearing the same story 4, 5, 6, and 7? How the story we ain't advanced nowhere? We still with the shit? Okay, we still there? Okay. So I didn't really need to check in anymore. I just said I'll just leave this here. I know this story. And then when I got to college, it was more so my ability to start to fill in the story in a way that I knew I would be seeking to, get the other side, And when we talk about Juneteenth, I hear, some things that are, the way people kind of sometimes in our community talk about our community sometimes, to me, lacks some compassion. You know what I mean? My good friend, Paul Joseph, who is a founder and creator of Vegan Skin, he is also an African-American studies teacher, and he recommended this book to me. Many of you may know it, but I have been reading this book, Breaking the Chains of Psychological Slavery by Naeem Akbar. To me, this book is quintessential, and this should be mandatory reading for Black people in this country, because it really, really talks about what I think is important for us. If we're on this pursuit for, absolute freedom, you got to figure out how you are not free. You know what I mean? If there's a question there. If you're feeling disempowered in any way in life, it seems like it doesn't work out for you, and there's reasons and rationales you feel, that are inhibiting you, you might want to go on a quest. To me, that's how I am. I seek information. I want a solution. That's what I do for my clients. That's what I do in my business. Once the problem exists, now I need to get to the solution. Tell me what the remedy is. I see the problem clearly. And sometimes, a lot of people, to me, sometimes do our community a disservice by always hyping up the problem. You know what I mean? A lot of people identify problems. The problem with the Black community is, problem with our Black people is, you know what I mean? It's all this. It's like, whose side are you on? So I always ask for us to always be on our own team and understand that our community in this country was enslaved for 20 generations, probably even more since, 20 generations. I didn't really put it, they talk about 400 years, but I didn't really think about how many generations, the impacts have been endured and then passed along. So I like, for me to celebrate and continue celebrate. Now, what is there to to celebrate. To me, it's to celebrate the indomitable spirit of my ancestors. Because honestly, when I look back just a little bit, I say I don't know if I would have been the one to keep getting up. How did you just keep getting up, knowing what you were facing? Thank you so much. So now, with that endured, out of respect, I have to continue to further the quest for freedom that they stood up for. And right now, because clearly I'm not on anybody's plantation, if there are any limitations, you would be more on a psychological level. So this book to me has really been enlightening, and just talking about what do some of the current vestiges of all these 20 generations of slavery look like in today's society. Here's an example. Here is a blurb that he talks about the family and the impact. So pretty much the book is about, okay, this is what has happened in this country in terms of slavery. And let's look at how, that time, how were the different areas in our, of the different impacts, what do they look like? How were they passed along? What do they look like in our community? How does it affect us? And before I even read his, I can give you one of mine that made me think that there was definitely some still impact. When I started to look at things like attitudes towards work. You know what I mean? There's a lot of comedians, a lot of people poke fun at the differences between Black people and other races and their attitudes towards work. If you just look, you can find it. I mean, it's out there. The big comedians, there's a joke and a ha-ha about it, where it's like, perpetuate some, stereotypes of us, not being the best when it comes to being on time, being late, taking long breaks, and, some of these things. And you laugh because you like, it's true. Sometimes, not for all, for sometimes it's true, and you laugh. That's why you laugh, because it's true. But then you think, what's deeper behind that? You know what I mean? And for me, looking at it and really saying, I'm not going to judge this as right or wrong. I just want to understand it. Like, maybe I do see some truth there. What's up with that? I know there's nothing wrong with us. Caribbean people, they be like, nope, I'm not in that group. I got 15 jobs. The Jamaican shout out. You know what I mean? My, Africans be like, nope, we'll work from sun up to sundown. But what is this distinct thing here about, maybe some of our people here? Well, there's a distinct thing that happened here. So to me, I always kind of look there to see, and not look there to justify an excuse, but to understand what I'm healing. What am I balancing against? What am I trying to break through? What am I trying to change? If you can't look at it and not judge it and as a testament to your value, you have no chance at transforming it. So I think that's something that we're dealing with as a country, not even wanting to look at what's happened here. That's not going to work out. You know what I mean? Them days are over. We here with the truth. You're going to reconcile with it and do your own healing. Do your own healing about it. I mean, if you feel guilty, that guilt is within your body, within your being. You can work through it like we have to work through having forgiveness, you know what I mean? And work through all these vestiges, that we've endured and still carry on regarding slavery. We got to work through that. Work through your stuff too. Work through your own guilt or whatever it is, shame, blame, whatever. I think blaming has to come out of it. Everybody at this point, this has happened, but now we're going to have to reconcile with this. And being a hater on either side is not going to work. Nobody, you know what I mean, is you, because it's not being judged. You can be entitled to being angry and mad and upset, but it's not going to serve you. You know what I mean? You're not gonna thrive off it. You could do it. You're free to do it. You're free to suffer. You have that right to be in bondage and suffer, but you're not gonna prosper. So when when I hear in our community, they just spewing off all this Black hate, you know what I mean? What's wrong with the Black people is, no, what's wrong with you, hater? You know what I mean? You need to work on that. Come with some love. Give me some Queen of Fools, some Iyanla Vanzant. Give me some Oprah. Give me some good vibrations. Anybody put in the name. Anybody that I did not know should have named with the good vibrations. Put it in there, okay, for me. in terms of, healing energy is going to be the path forward. There's no way. Like, you go through a relationship, you go through a breakup, staying mad at it is not going to help you. And that's probably why you need, mommy, maybe take a note now. Maybe that's why you ain't got no relationship. Get past that bitterness. I get past the bitterness. It's a blocker, and it's not, the problem and the solution is not on the same page. You got to turn the page for the healing. You know what I mean? You don't ignore that. When I read a book, just because I turn the page don't mean I remember I don't have to stay on the page to get the knowledge and move forward. I remember what I read on the past page. I do. I don't have to stay there and be like, look at the book. I'm like, well, no, I want to read the next page though. I want to move. I want to make progress. Okay. I want to make some progress. So I said I was going to read this, and then after I talk about the family, we're going to get into a little bit of family loss. So I just think healing energy for all. You know what I mean? I think that this is a time to really think about what does it mean to be ultimately and absolutely free. Wait, let me talk about this here. Oh, well, I'll go into it after we talk about some of the remnants, I think. But, again, this kind of, I wonder, when people come with this low vibration, justifiably, they think they're justified in presenting the low vibration because it's righteous. I don't know how those go together, but okay. So you righteous, but you bitter and you mad and you spewing on the people that you supposedly care about. I don't know how that adds to the solution. So I'm just asking, give me some solutions. That's why I love in this book. Brother, he gave me some solutions. He said, listen, I think for one, the fact that we still in the game here is phenomenal. I think it's a testament to the greatness of the human spirit that the African American even exists and endured and is here today. So now let's talk about what we have to do moving forward. What are some of the things we can do? Because they talked about this. I mean, this book, there's a chapter in here. I mean, and I think that's why the conversation about this critical race theory is really, really important, because one of the ways that you really have to enslave a person, you have to break their consciousness, meaning that you can't show them anything of value, and you can't allow them to do anything that acknowledges their self-worth and value. That's an intentional part, and that part, those remnants are still running rampant. That's why we have the issues we have in our community. But you can see on the other side, no one benefits from negativity, because we got people just acting like it's Grand Theft Auto out in the Walmart in the parking lots and just picking folks off midday. So it's not like it's just an isolated, experience for one community. We're interconnected. So we really, it's bad because, you're reading stories about people. I can't even keep up, but they were in a Walgreens. Was it the Walgreens? The guy told the story of, they're in I think one of those like pharmacy stores. And I think that was the one. I can't even keep up. I think that was that in Colorado? Is that the Boulder one? Where, they were just there shopping, and someone, comes in randomly and it's ra-ta-ta-ta, and you got to think like, what is that? And he's like, they were just running to the back of the store, like 5 of them in a row, they had each other's, he was pressing in the person's back in front of him. They were just running like, we got to get out of here. Like, with this hate swirling, it is a threat to everybody. It really is. So no matter what side, if you are serving the negative lower energy, you're not helping the cause. Okay. Whatever justification you think you have, it's really not serving. And I'm sure you can look in your life and see a lot of things out of order. I would attribute it to justifiably being blown, because it doesn't really help us move forward. And everybody has their work to do. I think that is the sojourn of the human being to struggle with this and really see the parts of them that represent human spirit over human animal. Okay. And let us not let anyone enslave us in that way to act like those that have transgressed us. So let's look at this. So let's see what he says. Okay, so Naim Akbar, breaking the chains of psychological slavery. I'm just going to do a little smidge just in case your thing. And if it's not your thing, let it be your kids' thing. Like let the future, let them get some deep seeds and help us grow and move past this. How lets us make slaves. How did slave makers accomplish this deadly feat? They engage in a systematic process of dismantling any and all mechanisms that preserve the continuity of the African people. African captives were separated from related language groups, were isolated from their most familiar selves. Any of the rituals which preserved the integrity of the African culture, from marriages to funerals, were forbidden, and alien practices were substituted, or none were permitted at all. They cut the tongues from the griots and who tried in the quiet of night to remind people that there was a continuity that reached beyond the fields, which they had come to know in Jamaica, Alabama, Georgia, and Virginia. So anyway, I just love, to me, that's not for blame. That's for information so it's not the blame game I read these things for. That doesn't happen already. You got to reckon, I didn't do it. So you're going to have to reconcile that, your ancestry on that side. On my side, my benefit is getting an understanding of, okay, so I got separated from things that helped me identify and see any images in school. I could see how those, were intentionally left out. So now I need to go ahead and fill in some gaps for myself. I need to do some healing for myself, so I know how to reconcile with myself. And that brings me to just the final point on this. We're going to wrap this up, and I'm going to give you some family law tips on separation and abandonment. Boom, we're going to bring it all together. So they talked about how they really devastated our family. Oh, I'm going to read it. Okay, so talking about these traditions. Another thing I find is like sometimes people pick at the things that we do that's organically near and dear to us. Like have a good time, listen to music and dance and carry on. You know what I mean? Yeah, that's how we carry on. What do you mean? And listen, look, I've taken my DNA back to the motherland, and it was a great experience to reconcile with which parts are just like, oh, that's organically how I am. I loved it. And then I could see some of the things that, were discouraged when you have to manage the blackness. When you go home to the motherland, ain't managing no blackness. You might be managing some other things, but you're not managing that. You get to be fully yourself. You're like, wow, this is great. And here, sometimes I find that not really acknowledging how important just holding on to whatever remnants we have of our culture, no matter how they've been preserved, is really important. So kind of undermining the value of things that we do for our well-being and happiness, I don't understand. Now, there's always extremes. You'd be like, well, it doesn't have to be so slack. Yeah, get it. You know what I mean? But still, the whole process is probably why you exist today, because that's what our ancestors used those opportunities to refreshen themselves, to get back connected with themselves, to get some spiritual power to get up the next day and go deal with life. Those practices are not to be undermined, no matter how you may judge it. You know what I mean? They mean something, They had to be modified, because of the, circumstances that we were in, being away from home. But when you go back and you see our tradition being maintained, you see that there's a dance, cultural ritual for every occasion, that's a part of what we do. So it would never be us to not have a drum or music or something going on to revive and refresh our spirit, to get up and keep going. It's our well-being stress management outlet. Now, there's always the dark side to everything, but I think for most part, it's more good than not. Okay. So anyway, so let's see. There's a book there. I don't know if I can get to it, but family, I'm going to today. Okay, look, family, look, here we go. Page 19. Okay. And I quote, this is how you have to do it in Howard. The book say, not what they're like, I don't care what you think. Tell me what the court said. Okay. Well, the scholar said on page 19, paragraph in it, you got to do it like that at Howard. The family, pinpoint the page. Okay. Third paragraph down. And we start with the family. Probably the most serious effect of all was the impact that slavery had on the African American family. The family is the very foundation of healthy, constructive, personal, and community life. Without a strong family, individual life and community life are likely to become very unstable. Are we here with instability in the future? Okay, this book was written in the 70s. Let me see. The destruction or damage to the African American was accomplished by destroying marriage, fatherhood, and motherhood. Slavery, and this is written by, he quotes Wendell William Goodell, and I believe he was kind of analyzing the impacts of slavery. Slavery does away with fathers as it does away with families. Slavery has no use for either fathers or families, and its laws do not recognize their existence in the social arrangement of the plantation. When they do exist, they are not the outgrowths of slavery, but are antagonistic to that system. So this is a proponent of slavery, William Goodell, writing, and Naim Akbar is using his quotes to analyze these views. The slave has not rights. Of course, he or she cannot have the right of a husband or wife. A slave is a chattel, and chattels do not marry. The slave is not ranked among sentient beings, but among things, and things are not married. Those emojis that's like, wow. Okay, so with that information, it is really critical information to understand the type of healing that, and he goes deeper. I mean, that's just one paragraph. This book is so dense. You'd be like this, hold up. I think that's enough for today. I could go meditate on that alone. Because look, I mean, the foundation of just your self-worth, just really being challenged, that means that's where, if you went through that, you know, if you really went to destroy those things, that's where the healing starts. That's where the process starts for us. That's why I'm like, you know, before we can get to the macro, we got to do the micro. And the micro, the most micro of this is you. You know what I mean? And then coming together is tricky business. So give us some grace. We're doing good. We're doing fine. We're coming along. We're getting this together. You know, let us get our bearings. You know, been through a lot. You know, glad that we're still here. Glad that my ancestors did not give up. So in the spirit of continuing the quest for absolute freedom, sometimes you got to be free, and you might have to get out of the relationship you're in to do some healing work. Maybe you have to get out so you can get back in. Maybe you need to do some healing so that you can, you know, refreshing yourself and jump back in there. So with that, let's talk about when you want to go, when you want to leave. I keep getting this question. Hold on. I had to replenish myself. So I always get this question, and I think it's interesting when we talk about abandonment versus separation. I get it a lot. So I'm going to clarify it for you here today if it's not clear, the difference between the two. Okay. Okay. So there are two common elements in these two, separation and abandonment. So the common element is that maybe you're going to be leaving. You're not going to be living where you were before. Okay. You're not going to be living where you're going to walk out the door and you're going to live someplace else. The living arrangement between you and your, you know, partner is going to change, right? That's the common thing. Whether you separate, whether you abandonment, you were there, you were no longer there. You were there and you took some steps, or you want to take some steps to be gone. You want to be gone. But you say, am I free to go? Am I free to go? Well, I always think that's a really interesting question, because marriage should not feel like bondage. Okay, guys and gals shouldn't feel like bondage. You are still a free individual, and yes, you can go. You're free. You can go. This is a voluntary thing that you've done here with marriage. There are some commitments, there's some entitlements. There's a process to becoming free. It's not as easy as ghosting somebody or, locking them out, not letting them back in. You're married. So there's more of you enrolled or engaged or entangled in this relationship. So the process is different, but yeah, you can go. Now, so let's talk about this. But you say, no. Attorney Grace, I know there's a problem if you abandon somebody. So let's talk about what I interpret to be the difference. Nobody really these days, I have not seen a claim for abandonment in a long time. Abandonment is like adult ghosting. Like it's ghosting. Let's just do ghosting. Let's supplement abandonment for ghosting. That's what it is. Now, so there's different ways to break up. Now, ghosting, you come home, you ain't said nothing. You just packed up your stuff. They go to the closet, your stuff empty, cleaned out, no note, no nothing, number change, ghosting, abandonment. That's what that is. Very clear. So it's not whether you can do it, it's how you do it. Okay? It's how you do it. Those two are, distinguishing how you do it. Now let's talk about separating. Okay? So I think now, because you know what one is, you probably can guess what the other one is. The other kind of breakup, we'd be like this, look here, let's have a talk. You like this. Let's sit down and have a talk, and let me tell you what's about to happen. You know what I mean? When you declare, I'm about to go, and this is what's about to happen. So I'm leaving because I don't want this anymore. And we've tried this, we tried that. So, what I'm going to do is I got a place, and I've already, trucks coming to come get my stuff. And what we can do is work out what we're going to do with the property, the house, the blah, 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 da, da, da. Or you're like, hey, I got Attorney Grace. We came up with a proposal. You know what I mean? I want to be fair. I want to make sure you're good. But this right here, toxic. So this is where I'm going to be. So to reach me. Now, you might not give them the address. Usually you probably don't. But at least you've made the declaration that you're leaving. That is called a separating. Like you separated, and it's a requirement. It could be one of the ways. So remember, this is all about how you want to dissolve your marriage. And a 12-month separation, that is how it would start. It's not hidden. It's not done in the dark of the night. Or even if you could do it like that, say you sneak out, but at least you let them know, like, hey, I left, and I'm gonna file for divorce, or you're gonna be served, and we breaking up. I don't know. But it's not ghosting, okay? It's not and the only thing that does is it gives the other person a limit on how long they got to wait for you to come back. So, it's 12 months. I ain't heard from you or whatever. And I got to check. Don't quote me on that to see whether it's a 12-month abandonment. I'm not exactly sure, because it could be 2 years. You have to be on just go somebody for 2 years. I don't know. I would have to look at the law. That's what I do for each case. You're refreshing yourself on the law. I don't claim to know it by memory. I go and verify, get some facts, get some information. So say it's 24 months. They'll just say after 24 months, you could go in and file for a divorce. I mean, clearly you don't have to, how long do you have to wait for the person to unghost you and decide to come back before you have the right to get divorced? They say, well, whatever the statute says, that's abandonment. And separation, though, is where, the other person says, listen, I'm about to go, and I've thought about things, and here's what we're going to do. So hopefully that's how I would love for you to do it. I would love for you to get a consultation. I would love for you to, have an, develop an exit plan. That's, you don't have to do it and be, let's let it be amicable as much as possible. I like things to, lessen the shock value. Let's not add to the trauma. You know what I mean? We all been through a lot. Try and break up with some dignity and grace if you can. And that's what I'm for, to help cooler heads prevail and let you kind of know, all right, we can get through this. Probably need some therapy along. Have always loved to have a therapist on call and involved in supporting you through the process, because I need to help you get through the process with some dignity and grace and save money and time and get you back on the track to healing, right? So that you can get back to joy. That is the goal of my law firm. So thank you so much for tuning in, and I did it. This is my Juneteenth first edition, and I just felt compelled to chime in. It's an important time. Hopefully you'll be doing something to celebrate. celebrate our ancestors and declare further that we are free, entitled to be free, and that you will pass this information on, our great legacy, on to your children. And maybe there'll be some educational, historical component to the cookout. Otherwise, just send me a plate. No, never mind. I'm not going to get into that story. Anywho, thanks so much for tuning in. It's been a pleasure. Hopefully you guys are enjoying the summer. And if you need me, my information is scrolling across the bottom, but I'm going to send this video out. You can find it on my website, my YouTube channel, and Facebook handles. It's streaming simultaneously. So thanks so much for tuning in, and I hope you guys are enjoying the summer, and hopefully I will be tuned in next week. Talk to you soon. Bye. I'm Carmiece Graves, and I practice family law in the Washington, D.C. area. One of the questions we have to think about, like say if you're married and you're dealing with your house and you own it together, the question is, well, we have an asset that we need to deal with. Sunset, they just abandoned me and come back, they've been gone, they've been gone. They've been gone, they ain't seen nobody, so I guess it's over. Like this, man, you just can't leave. Not true. Okay, that's what they call me. Are there people throughout history that despite whatever circumstances, they did what they wanted to do?